Well, my car's not sounding too good. Something isn't right here, guys. I hope it feels like I broke it. Oops. All right, party people. So today's the day. We've got a bunch of stuff we're doing today. I'm not gonna be doing this, but somebody else will be. Installing the Hondata Fuel System upgrade on the Civic Type R. And we're also gonna be installing some new spark plugs. My tuner told me to get new spark plugs and to re-gap them to a smaller gapping. And then I learned that there's a whole process to re-gapping these plugs. But first we gotta take my car over to Stratton Motor Cars. Those are the guys that are gonna be wrapping my car. But the funny thing is they do tons of installs. Literally, they probably do more installs than they do vinyl wraps now. I went over there, you know, when I was touring the place, and I could see that they were doing a good job because they work on all kinds of cars. Like they're working on this Audi RS7 with an interchiller. They're doing McLarens. I mean, they work on high-end stuff, so I definitely trust them to do this. But the reason I decided against installing this is in the instructions inside, it says that if you get any dirt in the fuel system and the fuel system fails because of that dirt, they will void the warranty. Now, this is a $2,800, $3,000 with taxes system. I don't want to take the chance of me being out $3,000 because I messed something up. So I'd rather pay someone else to install it, and if something's messed up, they can buy me a new kit. That's essentially what I'm talking about here. But in this kit, we have high pressure fuel pump right here. We have our low side fuel pump. We have new injectors, and then we also have new fuel lines for the high pressure pump. Spoiler alert, they've already installed the kit on the car. I would show it to you, but there's really nothing to see. However, they did kind of bring up some things that you should know. Now, these guys are pretty experienced with installing parts on cars, and they had a little bit of trouble with it. Here was the main thing. The low side fuel pump, they had zero issues with. They were able to get that in like 30, 40 minutes, like no problem at all. The high pressure fuel pump and the injectors was what really gave them the hardest time. On the back side of our engines is our intake manifold. And this is near the firewall. And then on the bottom of the manifold are the injectors. They were expecting the injectors to be on the top, but they were on the bottom. So you literally have to take that entire intake manifold off, and then you have to like saran wrap it. This is what they did. They used rubber bands and saran wrap on every little piece of it. And they also went ahead and saran wrapped all these parts here while they were waiting to be installed, so they didn't risk getting any dust into the system. Now, I was originally supposed to film the install process, but they got a little bit like happy and just went ahead and installed it before I could get there and film, which is fine, it's whatever. After it's installed, and this is something I had to kind of tell them because I have FlashPro on my laptop here and they don't have FlashPro. I told them do not try to even start the car until I get there with the laptop. In the instructions, it says, do not start the car until you hook up the FlashPro manager. And in the mods list, you check the box that says Hondata Fuel System. And then after you check that, you have to enter a serial number and a software key. And that comes on this handy dandy card right here from Hondata. I suggest taking a photo of it and keeping it on your phone. That way you don't lose it, because I've almost lost that card, but I took photos of it. So after they installed it, I went back up there and I got in the car, plugged everything in, I got the tune reflashed, I got the serial number put in it, and then I drove it around. Now, it doesn't feel much more powerful yet because we haven't retuned it yet, but what I have noticed is, let's just say in the tune, it's calling for so much fuel. Let's just say this line up here is the fuel it's calling for. Well, with our stock fuel systems, it will try to meet that demand, but always fall short, and it will kind of do like this. Well, now what it feels like, and I can't verify this yet until we get it tuned, it feels like whatever fuel it's calling for is actually being met and it's sustaining itself. And I think that's the case, but we're gonna make another video on tuning it. Before we get to tune it, my tuner told me to install some new spark plugs into the car. And you know, these are the NGK Iridium spark plugs. And he told me to re-gap them down to 20 thousandths of an inch or something like that. Well, the problem is you can't just re-gap them the way that you typically re-gap spark plugs. So let's dive up close real quick. I'm gonna show you guys how to re-gap the spark plugs. And I'm gonna show you, things to do and not to do when you're re-gapping them. Then we're gonna go install them. I'll show you how that's done. And then we'll see how it feels. NGK specifically says do not use any anti-seize on their plugs. It could ruin the plugs. So if you're the kind of person that's changed out traditional spark plugs and now you're doing NGKs and you've always done anti-seize, don't do anti-seize. The tuner told me I needed to re-gap my plugs like I mentioned earlier, and factory, the NGK laser iridiums come at about 0.030 thousandths of an inch. They're around somewhere between 30 thousandths and 32 thousandths. The tuner told me to re-gap them down to 20 thousandths, and that's what we're gonna do today. Little did I know though, that laser iridium plugs have to be gapped a specific way or you'll break them. So you're not gonna be able to use those standard little circular gappers that you're used to using. You're gonna have to use this little tool right here. I will also include links down in the description for everything that we're going to be using today, because there's a couple of special tools that we're going to need. This is a gapper just for laser iridium plugs. I bought it, I think it was like 20 bucks. I got this feeler gauges, which you're definitely going to need. These are about $5 to $10. And then I got this special thin-walled 14 millimeter socket wrench, which you absolutely must have in order to remove and reinstall your spark plugs in the car. Apparently these are the most counterfeited plugs ever, so you want to make sure you're buying them from a reputable dealer. I will make sure to put a link in the description to the exact part number from a reputable dealer. Now, in order to get these gapped, a couple things we need to look out. So number one, you see that tiny little electrode that's in the center here? You do not want to push that from the side or push down on it at all. You can touch it a little bit, but you don't want it getting any pressure put on it, or you could shorten the life of your spark plug, and let's just be honest, that wouldn't be good for anybody. The way we re-gap these is we use this special tool right here. Now I've already re-gapped these plugs, but I just wanted to show you so you can see. So what you do, you screw this little guy in from the bottom. You only take it about halfway in or so. And you kind of have it propped to the side so you can see that electrode very clearly. And then from the top, you screw this guy in. It literally takes very little pressure to, take this 10 thousandths of an inch off of it. But you just tighten it just a tiny bit and then you back off. Then you take your feeler gauge that's at 20 thousandths. And when you're putting it in here, you press up on the arm to try to avoid that electrode. And then you can move it up and down just a little bit to see if there's any play in it. Now, if you compress it too far, if you gap this too close, what you do is you take a set of needle nose and you just grab onto the arm of this without touching that electrode, and you just pull it up slightly and it will open it back up. Over time, as we put wear and tear on our plugs, the plug is going to open up naturally. And when you get a tuned car and when you start putting in higher octane fuels and adding more boost, it's gonna open it up even more, which is why I'm assuming he told me to close the gap down to 20,000. I wanna give a big shout out to Flying Gato YouTube channel. I actually learned about this from his channel, so you guys should definitely go check him out. I will put a link to his channel down in the description. He has a ton of awesome information about the Civic Type R. But basically, with this, it's a thin-walled 14 millimeter plug, socket plug, and you have to have a thin-walled socket in order to even get your plugs out, and also in order to put new plugs in. If you don't have this socket, I'm pretty sure that anything you have in your garage isn't gonna work on the Civic Type R. I'm gonna show you how to install these plugs in a second, but basically, once we get these plugs installed, I will be able to get the Civic Type R retuned with the new fuel system running hopefully probably E50 as well as 91 octane. And I can't wait to see, what the difference is like. But let's head out to the garage real quick and let's get these bad boys installed.
I wait for someone to save. I want to tell you something new. Drove us both into a wall. I drive away into the night.
All right, guys, so we are in the 2019 full bolt-on Civic Type R with the PRL Flex Fuel Kit and the Hondata Fuel System upgrade. Now, right now, I'm still running on the custom tune that I had from Redstar Motoring prior to having Flex Fuel and the Hondata Fuel System upgrade. However, I do have the check mark ticked so we can run Flex Fuel, and right now we are running about 25.78% ethanol in the car, which is pretty freaking sweet. This isn't custom tuned for Flex Fuel yet. We will be doing that in a future video, but today actually turned out to be a perfect day. It's like 65 degrees, which here in Phoenix, it's been like 90. Like 3 days ago, it was 90 to 100 degrees outside. So I figured today is good boost weather, and I wanted to see if there'd be a difference in 0 to 60 time with the Flex Fuel and the Hondata Fuel System versus when I didn't have the Flex Fuel and the fuel system on here. So I got my draggy module. We're gonna head out to the same spot where we did the previous 0 to 60 test. I don't remember right off the top of my head what the best 0 to 60 time was. I believe it was like 5.3 or 5.4. I'll look it up and I'll flash it on the screen for you. So we're gonna do that again. Right off the bat, I noticed that the car is a lot quieter, meaning it's almost like the car, the way it sounds when you're accelerating and cruising, it almost sounds like the car doesn't struggle as much, if that's the right word to use. I don't know if that is the right word. It doesn't struggle at all, but the way that it sounds, it's almost like the ethanol kind of, you know, smooths it out a little bit and makes it a little bit quieter. So I will say this though, we're running the same boost levels, but I'm noticing a little bit quicker accelerations right now. Let's see. That was really fast. We can't do that again. I'm gonna get in trouble. We went like 55 to 95 really quick back there. So I gotta get to this back road before we can really get on it. Outside temps are 64 degrees Fahrenheit. IAT2 temps after the intercooler are 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's, got some curves coming up. Got traction control turned off. Let's see what happens here. Weird sound. See if you guys can hear this. I'm gonna move my microphone. Do you hear that weird clicking sound? It only makes the noise when the car is moving. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Now, I did just have the car wrapped, and they had to take the door panels off, you know, in order to wrap it. So I'm kind of wondering if something's loose in the door panel. I'm gonna have to go get that checked out and see. Yeah, that's really strange. Back here at the same exact spot, we are gonna do our 0 to 60. We're at 1,181 feet of elevation, 63 degrees outside. We're only 10 degrees over on our IATs. I'm gonna launch it at around 1,800 RPMs. I have traction control fully disabled, but I do have Hondata traction control enabled on the FlashPro. So let's see what happens. I haven't done this in a while, so it might suck, I ain't gonna lie. Wow, I'm really spinning, holy cow. I don't think I've ever spun that much. Let's try that again. That was pretty intense. That didn't feel too good. That's the most spinning I've ever done in this car. That's a 6.5 second 0 to 60. That's literally the worst 0 to 60 time that I've ever gotten. Let's try it again. For some reason, there's a lot more traffic on this road today than any other time I've ever been out here. It's literally a back road, but like you just saw a car go by. There's another car gonna go by. And then there's a car turning down the road right now. This is really strange. Let's see how this next 0 to 60 test goes. basically I might have to turn up the traction control on the Hondata system. But once we get this thing custom tuned, I'll have Redstar Motoring dial in the boost by gear and stuff like that. That way we don't spin too much. I'm just not even gonna rev it. I'm just literally just gonna take off. I'm no need to try to rev it up. Yep, we definitely need a retune here. 6.18 seconds. Wow, these are like the worst times that I've ever gotten in my life. Crazy, crazy. Try it again. I'm just gonna ease into it. So that was a 5.9. Yeah, 5.97. That's not the best either. I feel like we could do so much better. Thankfully, the temps are holding strong. I got the EPR hood on here that has the vented hood so the heat can escape. This thing works amazingly well. Well, my car's not sounding too good. Something isn't right here, guys. I hope it feels like I broke it. Oops. It feels like it's gonna die. Well, I'm just gonna get this car home. We gotta figure out what's going on with it. It doesn't look like I'm leaking any oil. I don't have any smoke coming out of the tailpipe or out from under the hood, but something is definitely wrong here. I either bent a rod, fried a ring, or if we're lucky, maybe just like a little fitting came loose and all we got to do is reconnect it. But I just don't want to shut the car off out here because, yeah, that wouldn't be good, huh? So I'm almost home. I just pulled the codes up on the Hondata system here on the dashboard. It looks like I'm getting a cylinder 4 misfire. So either A, the new spark plugs that I put in, something went wrong with that, or B, I messed something up really bad. So we'll have to get home and pull those spark plugs, take a look at them and see what we see, because I mean, hey, if I blew it, you know, whatever, we'll put new rods and pistons in it, and you know, that way we'll definitely have a lot of assurance, you know, when we add more power. But it'd be cool to like not have that. So let's find out what happened here. So let me explain kind of what happened, because it was really kind of strange. So basically, as you can see, I was doing a couple of 0 to 60 tests, and then all of a sudden the car started running like crap. Now, I've never really experienced a car doing that before, so I wasn't really sure what had happened. Thankfully, when I was almost home, like I mentioned, on the Hondata system, on the head unit, it gave me the code, the P0304 code, I believe it was, which said cylinder 4 misfire. So I immediately brought it home and I pulled the spark plugs out to take a look at them. And I took every single plug out just to verify, but I was mainly focused on plug number 4. Spark plug number 4 right here. And I inspected it, and visually I don't see anything wrong with it. However, something is wrong with it. So what I did was I took one of my old spark plugs, I re-gapped it down to 20 thousandths, put it back in. The car runs amazingly well right now. So here's the plan. I'm gonna get it retuned with Redstar motoring before I push it really hard again, just to make sure that everything's running correctly. Number 2, I mean, there's really no reason to really try to push it, because as you can see, the car was spinning like crazy through first and second, at least with the 25% ethanol. Now, I did a couple of tests off camera on just regular 91, and I wasn't getting all that spinning. So this is gonna be a really good benchmark for my build to see if I really want to take it further in power or not. Because I know that PRL is going to be releasing the new drop-in turbo kit for the Civic Type R very soon, but if it gets to a point where you're just spinning all the time, regardless of traction control, really there's no point on a front-wheel drive car, because you're just not going to get any traction. So we'll have to see, you know, how the tune comes out with this, and this is really going to determine what I do next. I mean, the car is almost done, basically, for everything that I can do to it. That's why I went and bought the Camaro ZL1, because I knew I was going to be out of content to do on this car pretty soon. But overall, I will say this, I'm very very glad that I got the Hondata Fuel System because number one, I have the recall on the fuel pump for the 2019s, and a lot of dealers can't even get that fuel pump. So I'm just really happy to know that the fuel system is replaced. It's not gonna hopefully go out on me, at least not like the OEM pump would have, but it feels much stronger than it did before I changed the pump, so that's a good thing. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section below. I'm hoping after we get it retuned that the 0 to 60 times will be better than they were before. So my previous best 0 to 60 time was a 5.32, and I had around a 5.5 second average. Now granted, I haven't done 0 to 60 times in a while, so I might be out of practice, but the best time that I was able to get was 5.97 seconds, and that's kind of disheartening because I know there's more power, which kind of goes back to the old adage of spinning ain't winning. I mean, I could always, get better tires on it. I got the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's on here right now, but those tires were great. Those are the tires that I used to get the best 0 to 60 time. Now, after I got the spark plug replaced, I took the car out at nighttime that same night. And it's funny because the temperatures went down even more, and man, the boost was really kicking. I mean, I would just be in like third gear almost, and I could almost get spinning in third gear from a roll. So I'm hoping we can tweak the boost by gear and get the traction control going so that we're not spinning as much. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section. How much power do you think the Civic Type R is putting out right now? Because I don't even know. It feels like it's close to 400, if not a little bit more. The Torq definitely feels like it's over 400, but hopefully I can get it dynoed and get it dyno tuned later. But I just got to get a quick street tune on it just to make sure that all the parameters are safe. And then still got to do our video on the vinyl wrap. I did get it vinyl wrapped. I can't wait to reveal the color to you. Now, I know that all of you guys that follow me on Instagram already know what it is. So if you're not following me on Instagram, be sure to go check that out. But we will definitely have an update video. In the next video, we'll retune it. We'll redo the 0 to 60 times, see if we can't get those any better, see how the car feels and performs. Then we'll find out what's next for the Civic Type R. But until next time, guys, I love you, and you guys stay sexy.